Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join us in the wild landscape of Scotland. And for today's adventure, we've come to document an ancient structure on the edge of Forfar here in the lands of Angus, Scotland. And today it's the old Restennith Priory, and the main tower section here at the Priory dates back to, I believe it's the year 700 AD. And that just is mad old history. Obviously a place like this has changed and been developed over the years and then abandoned for many years as well. So it's just basically the stonework and the other interesting, like there's carved stones and all sorts of stuff here folks, but that tells the story of the ancient history here. And I believe at one time the priory here would have been run by monks, and they would have probably been pretty much in charge of like the local community and the local agriculture in this area. And that's probably the reason they've got these large structures around the side of the main priory building. You have to imagine all these walls are from different time periods and different parts of the building, and some of them is actually gone now, but a lot of them still standing, and the tower is so impressive. So here's an interesting fact about the history here of this priory folks. In the 1320s, Robert the Bruce buries his son here. And just think about that incredible Scottish history. In 1305, the priory was almost destroyed during the Wars of Independence with England. Many records and charters were actually lost during that period. But it's so cool to think about that. 1320, Robert the Bruce buries his young son here, and just think that shows what a sacred or special spot this on the land that this has been over the years. For prominent characters in Scottish history like that, this was even a special place. That's why it's cool in these videos to document things like this. Keep the history alive. Does it say what year? The tower apparently got hit by lightning and partially destroyed. The sign was saying there, folks. Oh, in the 1700s.
Spire, the run-down priory.
Oh, aye. Wow. That'll be before the days of having like the lightning conductor up on the top probably. And it must have been a thing back in the day that buildings did get struck with lightning now and again. This would have been a grand entrance. Look at that stone carving. Just think, Robert the Bruce most likely walked over this threshold of this building here into this incredible structure. You have to imagine when the roofs were on. Yeah, is the wall leaning? Wow, the wall's leaning so much. I can't even remember that detail from the last time I came. So look at this folks, there's massive old hinges here, like where grand big doors must have at one time hung. Now look at this.
And there would have been a spiral staircase.
Yeah, there must have been stairs leading right up.
Yeah.
Wow, so much debris falling down from what must be like nesting pigeons. And look at these old stones. Oh, it's just incredible carving. Look at the little face on the big round head.
So yeah, this is the earliest.
Yeah, the earliest one is the black section there. Look at it folks. That's where we are standing, in that square tower. So check this out folks, there's big chunks of ancient stones and bits of building and incredible like carvings, and considering the hundreds of years ago this was done, it's just remarkable to see. Look at that. I'm not sure, but see, often with a place like this they maybe had a big bar that went in to hold the door, so if somebody was trying to batter the door in it would be super difficult to get into the structure. This wall is now leaning super far over compared to what I remembered. It's been a good few years since I came to this place, and literally like every year the weather takes its toll on these structures. Even though they've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, like literally every year does as much damage. Even the numbers, well, the dates on the top of here can hardly be seen. Look at this folks, that metal was actually found here, and it's a special gold and sapphire thumb ring, and it was discovered here in this location And it could be 900 years old. It's crazy to think about that. Look at the way it's constructed. The sapphires put in on the gold there. Wow, this is almost what it would have looked like in this building. That's like a bit of a illustration there. But now you can see the difference. The roof gone and some of the stonework. But like they said, back kind of just got destroyed almost in the wars of independence over the years. That's maybe the sort of time they would have that big bar over the door.
You can't see it in these pictures, right? But
yeah, the detail.
See in the corners there. I think that was to hold the sticks with the fire, Ken, to
Maybe.
light the place up.
It could have been. It's unreal, folks, to see the erosion there on the tower. Just think about that, eh? Like, all those stones have been put in there to repair it at a certain time. And I think in the 1800s, like during the Victorian period, they actually started to really care for old history and look after it. And it's maybe at times like that, stuff like this was fixed and renovated.
The carving.
Oh aye, the stone carvings up on the edge of the stone arches. I can see that now. It's little details, eh? Incredible details. And this is where the senior clergy sat, apparently, folks.
This is where the rinsed their door.
This was like a little bench here that they would have literally sat at. And yeah, they had a little bowl here. And look at the shape of that there, eh? It's just crazy.
Wow, that's all
Look at-
lost in erosion.
Check out the old limestone mortar there. That's what's washed out of a lot of the old walls that we visit on adventures. Yeah, the detail of that carving, eh? It's just almost lost to nature and time itself. And these grand windows, you have to imagine what scenes may have been in a building like this at one time. What words have been spoken and stories have been told in ancient times. Look at this. Look at this here. There's initials carved into this stone. But see another detail. There's actually a groove right down here.
Yeah.
So that shows there's potentially been an internal wall or something in this position. But it's funny because the B has been at one side of that and the D's been at the other. So would that have been at a later time in its history when it was more of a church or whatever? So many hundreds of years has passed, folks. It's just crazy the layers of history that a building like this has gone through. It changes so much often. And look at this interesting plinth here made of the stone. The different types of stone as well. They all erode at different rates. This is an interesting detail because it looks like that original arch there has then been changed and this has been put on top of it. And that's what I mean about layers of history, the detail and the carving on that. And then look at this old grave coffin, the old stone coffin, folks. Look, it's the shape of a human. And look, it's got like a drain in the bottom, which must be for like fluids or whatever. But it's interesting to see that. Literally the shape of the human, the head would rest within here. And there's the lid of the coffin. Wow, this is so cool, folks. Just check the magnitude of that tower. It must have been such a grand structure for its time. I'm going to have a look up the side of the building here to see if there's any sign of the grave of Robert the Bruce's son. Because there is stones here. See, this must be burials and stuff. You would think somebody of his character would be within the walls. Look at this here. Wow, folks, like what is all these little bits? That must be a window which has been bricked up or blocked.
You see how wide the windows are on the inside?
Yeah, on the outside they're just
narrow too, eh?
yeah. I wonder if that's because back when this place was built, it was for defence as well as like the look of the place.
Aye.
But maybe also
Because there was no glass, there were no windows, eh? So
yeah.
that would have just been open.
That's so true. But like, see how these ones have all been changed?
Yeah.
Originally it must have had windows the whole way down. And this must have been other outbuildings. Because look how the wall stops. See, what it was saying on the sign, folks, is that the loch was just right around the side of here. And you can still see it's pretty boggy ground around here. But when this place was first constructed, they reckoned that it had water pretty much right
well,
around it, and it was kind of on a wee mound of land.
Yeah, they said that they drained that in the 17 or 1800s to get the lime.
Oh, they drained it to get the lime, folks. See, this is it. The Channel DJ's read the sign. He can fill us in with the interesting information as we go around. That's the cool thing. I often don't have time to read every detail as I'm going around.
Definitely an entrance.
Yeah, it looks like it. It's maybe been like a small side, I don't even know what the word would be, a tomb. Can some graveyards just got a tomb that you go in? But look, has this wall extended right up? That'll be the reason they blocked those windows up. Can
So
this?
yeah, that'll be a later addition.
Yeah, and then this window must have still been looking outside. See how much wider this window is with the amount of erosion?
Some bars on
Let's take a look, folks. Wow. Oh, aye. See, originally that's most likely what it was. It was probably metal bars. I love the detail and the way it's shaped.
it. Yeah.
It's not just a plain structure.
It looks like there was something here as well.
Yeah, the building has been so much bigger at one time. You can still see the boggy wet lands around here.
Oh yeah, look, it's
Super wet. I wouldn't want to go and walk across there at all. But then, is that potentially like Bulgaiv's Loch and stuff that's out that way? And then that leads on to the ancient Scottish castle in last week's videos, I believe. Bulgaiv's castle. It's just probably like 5 or 6 miles over that way, and it dates back to ancient times as well, medieval times, 1400s. And just think, this tower was standing here back at that time. But the amount of wars of like independence and stuff places like this has taken out, like put up with and survived, it's just incredible to think about. And look at this, how the seat was at the other side of this, and look, it's had its own little bit. They've shaped the wall, but it must have had pillars going up further originally. See these little stones, I believe they've been put in to repair the structure, potentially in like the 1800s, maybe even the 1900s, because the original stones will be these bigger ones, for sure. And then like this is all repairs to what would have been erosion. Yeah, there's been that other roof coming out this way. And look at the mark on the tower from it as well. Or that mark on the tower could have been from like an even older roof. Yeah, this is almost like a bench here, look at this. Check it out, folks. This area here may be like a social or a common area, or potentially in the later times like the 1800s they changed this for folk to come and relax next to a structure like this. This is maybe a non-original wall and stuff down here. Yeah, that stone there is so interesting.
I don't know what its purpose
It's
would
like a
be.
channel. It's almost like it's been repurposed. Wow, you can see the difference with the ancient tower stones and then the other wall stones of the priory, and that's how you can tell they've been quarried from a different place in the land here.
Not the maker's mark.
See, I think sometimes you do get marks like this which are the mason's marks, but I believe this mark here is the Ordnance Survey benchmark. On the Ordnance Survey mark it'll say BM and there'll be a dot, and that'll be the point of here, this tower. Look at this little door.
Looks like it's had various.
Yeah, roofs over the
Yeah.
years. And that shows how long before this was even built on.
Yeah.
That's how this stone will be repurposed for the original construction. Yeah, look at the difference with the colour of stone there as well, with the red stone between and then the grey sandstone on the outside with the lime mortar in there. Wow, this is so interesting, folks. There's loads of different random stones at this section. And then I believe this must have been a storage area where they would have stored like crops and stuff over the period of the year probably. But we'll take a look at this sign over here just to clarify the history. You can see it has been roofed.
Yeah.
Or there may have been a defensive walkway around there.
Again, that corner could have been turreted.
Yeah, maybe there was a tower there which was absolutely demolished. because this is the sort of damage that we see at castles when they've ripped the side out of them sometimes back at the times. Oh look, they're saying it was like an agricultural...
like a garden.
So they were actually growing stuff in here. See, that's another thing, like, that is interesting.
The joist holes.
Oh aye. The timbers
Walkway
support
roof.
it. Walkway roof. See, that is what I theorised. There could have been a walkway around it.
Yeah.
And it isn't. See, last time I came, folks, these signs were not here, and I was just theorising a lot of the stuff in my head, and I wondered if this had been like a storage facility for crops. So it is interesting to see they were actually growing the crops in this area. So this agricultural scene which we're talking about when they were growing stuff in here, folks, that was actually in the 1400s.
Yeah, look, there's your different roof lines there, like there and there.
Yeah, but the interesting thing with that in the 1400s, that shows you what was actually going on when, like, that ancient medieval castle for a few videos ago was in its prime. That shows you what was going on here, just like a few miles along the road.
Yeah.
Check this out, folks. Imagine coming and knocking on the garden door here at this section. Look how worn it is from their sandals back in the day. That stone there is proper, like, worn, and you get an idea of that history. And then this would have been the exterior wall. Probably to get inside it was pretty difficult. And this side has been totally busted out. It's just amazing to think at times places like this were relaxing, but then next time there were places of war and places of battles. Even religious buildings were the places of war at times. And this wall is leaning there as well, which is mad, because that's two walls which has got some lean. And the weight of that, it's maybe because of all the wet weather we've had this year. The ground's proper soggy and soft. All these openings must have been to help the air circulate around their crops which were growing. And then you could imagine the person walking along the top platform, patrolling the land, maybe looking out for incomers with horses or whatever a few miles away. They would get the defences ready. But it is insane to see how thick these walls are for sure. And it is interesting to see they've had the door here and the other door at the other side. Look how worn this stone is here. This is an unusual one, because you don't often see a stone which is like that and then with a slope. Which sure is an interesting stone there to have at the bottom of the door.
There'll be another step.
Yeah, but normally there would never be a slope on a step, eh?
No. They're just in sandals.
Yeah, look at the proper, like, lintel stones, the way they're built like a bridge as well. And then this will be a more decorative stone at this side. It's amazing to see how that mortar is still in between there. Just think about the person as they were building this up, spreading that mortar in, laying the stones together. But then a lot of that might have been repointed when they restored this site with those, like, smaller stones and stuff. The original stones were massive.
Yeah.
And like you were saying over there, this would have been an area where they would have communed.
Oh, look at that.
They would have come and sat on the benches. Those things we theorised were benches.
It's right next to the doorway.
Yeah. I wonder, like, what this bit of the wall was, eh? 'Cause it must have been the same as these walls here, because it's about the same thickness.
Yeah.
And it kind of an interesting thing, it's like there's been a door at each wall into this area here.
Could have been the garden shed.
You can see in between the big original stones as well. They're quite big, chunky, rough stones. And I think it'll be the same within the other constructions, potentially on the tower. And then we've got this other massive chunk of what must have been a pretty hefty wall, because it's huge. So there must have been other buildings and things here.
The slope on it looks like it.
Oh, aye. There's a slope on this side as well, and it's similar to the main building.
Yeah, that's what we've got on this side.
So I wonder if there's been more to the original tower. See, when you look at the construction and the quality of the tower, you can clearly see the difference between the rest of the building there. It's like the quality of stone has been different. Look at this building, this is interesting. This wall here has been built later than this wall here. Because look, here's the original slope, but yet once it comes to here, and then there's actual limestone mortar in this bit, whereas this section here, you didn't see any of that. It's like a different, older mortar with bigger stones in it. The whole way along the top of this building here, there's just different little carvings, like individual stones that's been put in, and I'm not sure if that supported a roof beam or whatever at a certain time for the inside, but it's cool the way that they've detailed each one like differently. Maybe each like an old symbol from back in the day that's just too far eroded to even see, like nowadays. Maybe old family crests of people from the area or whatever that came here a lot, or maybe lived here their whole days. And look, this must be one of the original walls to here. So it just shows you up until the 1400s, potentially it was just this. And then that was when they came in, made it the Priory, and then built all this stuff on here. And then had their little agricultural area and their community.
That was a grand entrance.
Yeah, this has been a fairly wide opening, but it's hard to know what's original here, because this bit has been built at a different time to there. And I reckon this has been put in at the same time as this here. Because look at this wall, this is, I think this is the original walls here, where it's got this interesting slope at the bottom. Look at that. And it's shaped the same as a lot of the other walls here. It seems to be like a foot wider at the bottom than it is further up. But when you see the wall there starting to lean and stuff, it's only a matter of a couple of 100 years potentially before it's also looking like this. Nature takes back over. Hundreds or thousands of years later, often the stones return to the earth, and then videos like this just keep that history alive, showing how they were at a certain time. 2024, it's still standing there on the land at Restennith here at Forfar, and it's just interesting to come back. I've not been here probably for like 3 years or whatever, and it's interesting to come back and just see what's changed. It's cool that they've put those little signs there to give an idea of the history as well. And the fact we've learnt today that Robert the Bruce buried his son here at this spot, it's a crazy bit of Scottish history that it was cool to share. But anyway folks, I think we've seen most of the little historical nuggets at this site, so I'm going to end this video here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next adventure, wherever we end up going. Goodbye for me, goodbye for the channel DJ, and we'll see you soon.